I'm Nicole and this is Dusty Book Sniffers, and today we're here to talk about The Sea of Memories by Fiona Valpy. So let's get started. Well, good morning or good evening everybody, no matter where you're watching from. Thank you for taking some time out of your day and spending it with me while I prattle on about the books that I have read. Today, as I said, we are here to talk about Fiona Valpy's The Sea of Memories, and as the title suggests, it is talking about someone's memories. So this book was a bingo prompt for me. It was to read a author that you always read, and I have many authors that I read a lot of, but Fiona Valpy seems to be the flavour of the month at the moment. I've read several of her books in the last couple of months. I first come across her back in May on my Kindle Unlimited. I had seen a book that I liked the cover of, which was the Storyteller of Casablanca, I believe it was, and I found it. I think that's her book. I'm pretty sure that's her book, or was it The Dressmaker? Anyway, I found it back in May, and I've read a lot of books this year, and they're all starting to blend together. So I haven't taken any notes for this one because I pretty much just read it in one sitting, and it is sort of like a quasi-memoir. Okay, so it is about a woman that is telling her story to her granddaughter. The woman is a little bit, she's separated from her daughter, like she doesn't speak to her or anything like that, but she wants to tell her daughter the story because there was something that happened in their life, which I won't go into because it's quite significant, that happened in their life that made her and her mother not talk anymore. So basically the granddaughter has come to the nursing home where the grandmother is, and she is telling her story, essentially her love story of her life, which there was two. So she was on an island and in France, because they usually, I had to think then whether it was in France. So she was in France and she went to stay with her mother's best friend's children, and she met Christophe and, oh, I'm terrible with names, but I know it was Christophe. Anyway, he was the French guy that she fell in love with at a young age, and this was prior to World War II. Now, Fiona Valpy is quite known for writing her books based around World War II, either prior, during, or after. In some cases, all three. And she generally writes around 300 pages, and I think she's a wonderful writer. I really enjoy her books. I devour them in one sitting, and I believe my friend Gail has been reading her books as well, and she's actually loving them because Gail's, whenever I talk about a book, she's onto it. She's onto it straight away. She's ordering them. So I haven't led her astray yet so far. Although I don't think she'd actually tell me because Gail's just far too nice to say something like that. But I don't know. Maybe she would. I don't know. I maybe have to ask her tonight when I talk to her on Zoom. So anyway, the granddaughter is taking down all the notes and collating the story, and she's putting together the story to give to her mother, who doesn't speak to the grandmother. And as I said, the story starts out there in France. It's pre-World War II. And they have a great summer together and all that sort of stuff. And she starts to fall, and she does this several times, and she falls in love with Christophe, and they start a romantic relationship. And then World War II breaks out. She's sent back to England, I want to say. I did read the book, I promise. I've just read a lot of books since I read this one, and I didn't take any notes. So that's on my fault. And so basically she goes back to England, and they're still corresponding, but the letters are few and far between. And then Christophe goes off to war, and essentially he was killed. They say he was killed, and her mother, his mother and father don't really cope with it and all that sort of stuff. And the sister remains on the island, and Christophe was a beautiful artist and whatnot. And so she remains on the island, and the story just sort of progresses from there. But then you don't really hear too much more about what's happening in France. It then focuses on the main character and her new life, and she's thrown herself into being a WAF, I think they call them back then. And so she's, help fixing planes and getting tools and setting schedules and all that sort of stuff, and she's making friends along the way, and she goes out and she's still pining after Christoph and all the rest of it, and then she gets notification that he's passed, and so she spirals from there. And then subsequently she ends up meeting a group of people, and she ends up falling in love and marrying someone else. And then years later, not too long actually, it was not too long after they were married, she finds out that Christoph was still alive. And then there's a whole story that plays out in that, and it swings between um, the grandmother who's telling the story, and then also the granddaughter that's writing down the story. She's got some problems in her life. She actually has an autistic son, and she's got problems in her marriage, and she's not sure how she's going to navigate the situation and all the rest of it. And by talking to her grandmother, she's learning how to navigate that situation, and finding some peace in her own life, learning through her grandmother. So it's been very, what's the word, cathartic for the granddaughter, taking down all of her notes and collating her story of the story of her grandmother. So it's been quite cathartic for her, and she's finding resolutions in her life and her marriage from hearing her grandmother's story. And yeah, so it just plays out with like that. A beautiful story. There was some very, like always, she pulls at your heartstrings and makes you feel the things that you don't necessarily know that you needed to feel, and all that sort of stuff. And it sort of got me thinking, like about my own story and what I would pass on to my daughters if I was estranged from them, and what my mother would pass on to me, because my mother and I don't talk and probably never will again, due to traumatic experiences from my childhood, and also her trauma as well. And so it sort of gets me, some of these books really do get me thinking about what I would put in a letter if I was to write a letter to, for the decisions that I made that my daughters didn't necessarily agree with. And, would I have done things different, and playing out. The only difference with this, like from my life to this story, is one, she, well, it's completely different to my life altogether, but it got me thinking about my own life. But she actually got to get some closure from that first one, where I guess for me, I won't ever get that closure, because it went to the grave with my grandparents and stuff like that. So I think, like, it's really got me thinking, do I want to document things that I would want to leave for my daughters after I'm gone, so they can have a better appreciation? Like, we talk and all that sort of stuff, and we have a great relationship, although sometimes we have our moments, like any mother and daughters do. But yeah, like, it just got me thinking, and I just thought it was an absolutely fabulous book. I've actually given this a 4-star rating because it actually got me thinking about how I would document my life and what I would put in there. And I would put in everything, I think, because I think that would give my daughters a better understanding of who I am. Would I want to wait until I was gone to pass it on to them? Probably not. Maybe when I put them, if they put me in a nursing home, I'd want to give it to them then, so they can at least correspond with me or talk to me about it. So yeah, it was a great book. It made me feel things anyway. So I've given it a 4-star read. I'm really glad that I put it on my Kindle Unlimited list to read. So Kindle Unlimited this year has really come through for the fans. There have been a lot of books on my Kindle Unlimited that I've read this year that have been absolutely amazing. There's been some debut novels and all that sort of stuff, and were just brilliant, which I've talked about on the channel back in May when I done that challenge, and just recently They Call Me Night was a part 2 to that one. But I've read some great Colleen Hoover books and all that sort of stuff. So if you don't have Kindle Unlimited, can I recommend it to you? Because you can also get audio books as well with it. Some of them are attached with audio. I can't remember what this one was. This one had an audio. Not all of her Fiona Valpy books have audio, and not all the books that I read on Kindle Unlimited have audio, but a lot of them do. But anyway, that is it for me today. As I said, 4-star read. I'm looking forward to reading more from Fiona Valpy. If you like that sort of thing, by all means pick it up. It is historical fiction based around World War II. A good era to write around. A lot of people were torn apart. It's a great era, a great time for wartime and people losing, but a great era to ride around. But that's it for me today. If you've yet to subscribe or you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon. I'm so close to 200 subscribers, people. Come on, get me over. But that's it from me today. As always, keep turning those pages and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.